Okie dokie. Welcome back. Here is my next reading of Morris Gleitzman's Boy Overboard, if you can see that right there. What are we up to? We're really cracking through this book. This book only goes for 180 pages, I think, pretty sure. Yep, 181 pages if we have to be really specific, and we're up to page 98. So woohoo, here we go. Just about, well, we're halfway through, which is just terrific. Left it a little bit on a bit of a cliffhanger last time. Let's see what's happening to the family now. Chapter 19, page 98. Here we go. The plane's taking off. We should be excited because it's our first flight. We should be delighted because we're safe and together. We should be happy because we're on our way to Australia. But we're not. We're just sitting here in silence. Well, not complete silence because the engines are roaring and most of the seats and wall panels and overhead cupboards and light fittings are rattling. But we're not saying anything. Next to me, Mum has got her eyes closed, and in front of us Dad has got his arm round Bibby, but he's staring out the window. It's still dark outside and there are no explosions or tracer bullets visible, so I'm not sure what he's looking at. He's probably having the same sad thoughts as me about leaving our home and our friends and our candlestick. To take my mind off the candlestick, I try to imagine what Yusuf is doing now. Sleeping, probably. Dreaming about his soccer ball in pieces. That makes me feel even sadder. When I arrive in Australia, I'm going to get a part-time job and buy Yusuf the best soccer ball in the world and send it to him. I'll decorate it so that the government thinks it's an inflatable prayer mat. And I'll send Yusuf's grandfather some Dolly Parton cassettes hidden in Australian landmine boxes. What was that? One of the overhead cupboard doors just fell off. It's always bumping and jolting. Old planes like this can't take it. I'm sitting next to a window like Dad, but I'm not looking out. It's too scary. Taking off in an ancient plane without ancestors. Just going to stop there. Remember the candlestick and all of that sort of stuff and how important the candlestick is to them. And he feels like he hasn't got his ancestors' protection because they sold the candlestick. Oh. Lots of the other passengers sound scared as well. They're praying out loud. I don't blame them. They probably had to sell their candlesticks to buy their tickets too. I think the crew on this plane were pretty thoughtless before we took off, going on about oxygen masks and life jackets and emergency brace positions to a bunch of people who are feeling very nervous anyway. Oh, as the plane goes up, your insides go down. That can't be very healthy, especially for older people like Mum and Dad. It could strain their hamstrings. Mum's knuckles are white as she grips the edge of her seat. I put my hand on hers. It's okay, Mum, I say. This plane's safer than it looks. The machine guns and rockets are in secret compartments. If we're attacked, they pop out automatically. It's a passenger plane. It's a passenger plane, Jamal, says Mum without opening her eyes. Passenger planes don't have machine guns and rockets. I've got a horrible feeling she's right. I couldn't see any weapons as we got on the plane. And I've looked at the safety card in the seat pocket and none of the drawings show a single machine gun or rocket. I can't believe it. A plane this size must have cost millions. It's a disgrace to try and save a few dollars by leaving off the weapons. Bibby turns round in her seat. It's probably got bombs, she says. I sigh. Bibby means well, but sometimes she makes things worse. This is a passenger plane, I say, partly to her, but mostly so Mum can hear. Passenger planes don't leave their scheduled flight paths and go off on bombing raids. Not when they haven't got machine guns and rockets to defend themselves against anti-aircraft fire. Bibby sticks her tongue out at me. Mum still has her eyes closed, but she looks a bit more relaxed now that I've put her mind at rest. As the plane lurches on into the night, I realise this is what we're going to have to do from now on. With no candlestick to look after us, we're going to have to look after each other. Which is actually quite sweet. End of chapter 19. Quick chapter, that one. The only thing that I wanted to mention The only thing I wanted to mention again was the reoccurrence of the soccer ball is turning up yet again, but this time it's use of soccer ball and how we destroyed it and all of that sort of stuff, and sending back Dolly Parton cassettes hidden in Australian landmine boxes. So that entire paragraph where he talks about how he'll get a job and he'll be able to do all of this sort of stuff, it's so naive, and it's outrageously unrealistic what he thinks he's going to be able to do. And he's just like, oh, I've got a plan, I know what to do, I'll just make it happen. Which I think is just, I think it's kind of lovely, but it's pretty interesting too. All right, let's move on. Chapter 20, page 102. Okay. These smugglers are being really unfair. First they keep us shut in a hot, stuffy house for ages with only one meal of noodles a day. And then they keep us standing on this dockside for almost a whole night. They don't seem to realise the danger we're in. One look at Dad's face would tell them. Dad, I say, do you think the government has sent spy planes after us? No, Jamal, he says, putting his arm around me. Don't worry, son. We're a long way from the government now. But he glances up at the sky. I know what he's really saying. We won't be safe till we get to Australia. Then we can relax. The Australian government will look after us. A government that lets girls play soccer is much too fair to allow bullying. I can't wait to get there. The really frustrating thing is our boat to Australia is so close, just the other side of that fence. Or boats, actually. There are two of them, which is just as well. There are hundreds of us in this compound. We definitely wouldn't all fit on one, not with those big fishing nets taking up half the decks. I wish their wooden sides weren't quite so splintery. They both look like they've spent the last 20 years lying in the desert after a battle. Mum, says Bibby, which one's our boat? Mum takes a deep breath. It's the millionth time Bibby's asked that. For a second, Mum looks like she's going to grab Bibby's headcloth and strangle her with it. Then, because she's a great mum, she remembers we've been travelling for ages and Bibby's only 9 and the poor thing's got an itchy rash under her arms. Come here, Flower, she says. Let me blow on it to cool it. They'll tell us which is our boat soon, says Dad. You kids are being great. Be patient a bit longer. All around the compound, other kids are nagging their parents. They've probably been shut up in houses for days too. Be patient a bit longer, the parents are saying to them. I can't understand all the languages, but you just know. And I can tell from the anxious looks on the parents' faces that they're worried about spy planes like us. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a minute because this is really important. A bit of time has gone past. So they've travelled on a plane to somewhere, not telling us where, but it's a boat ride away from Australia. So you can probably guess. You can probably guess where they are right now, and that they are going to be travelling by boat to Australia. So think about our closest geographical neighbours, and that's where they are right now. And the important thing that he says there is, I can't understand all the languages, but you just know, in relation to parents talking to their own kids about how great they're being, and just be a bit more patient. They've arrived at wherever they've arrived to. They've flown on the plane to a place. We could guess maybe somewhere like Indonesia or somewhere like that. And the smugglers have kept them in a compound. And a compound is described as hot, stuffy house for ages with only one meal of noodles a day. So for we don't know how long for ages is. And when he says that it's one meal of noodles a day, it's more than a day. So this could be for a week, maybe. This could be for maybe 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but the description of it is from a child's perspective, and days, weeks, whatever. It doesn't matter. If it was an adult talking, they'd be like, I've been here for 12 days, and they've said this and they've said that and whatever. And it's a completely different perspective. So lots of people from lots of countries have been smuggled to this one point. There's hundreds of people waiting to get onto splintery boats that have fishing gear on the decks. Bit of foreshadowing being set up here. All right, I'll keep going. Dad, I say, are you sure Dad, I say, are you sure we'll all fit on those 2 boats? I hope it sounds like a request for information rather than an ag. Don't fret, says Dad, it'll be fine. But I can see he's looking anxious and wondering, like me, just how many cabins can fit under the decks of 2 not very big fishing boats. Stop worrying, I tell myself. All these families here have paid for this trip. We all had to show our tickets to the smugglers at the compound gate. They're not going to leave any of us behind. I try to take my mind off worrying by watching the boats bob up and down in the water. I love the way they do that. I've never seen big things floating before. The creaking gets on your nerves a bit, but the bobbing looks great. And the sea. It's bigger than the desert. In fact, in this dawn light it looks a bit like the desert. I'm glad it's not. I'd rather be going to Australia on a fishing boat than a camel. Dad, says Bibby, when can we get on the boat? Come on, I say to Bibby, bouncing the ball on her head before Mum and Dad go mental. Soccer practice. There's not a lot of room with so many people standing around, but we find some space and do some passing and trapping. Just use the side of your foot, I say to Bibby. No big kicks. People are staring at her. They've probably never seen a girl play soccer before. The kids are wide-eyed with amazement. Some of the adults look shocked. It makes me very proud of her. Sad thing is nobody's joining in. We could have a great game in this compound, teams and everything. Hang on, someone else is joining in now. Oh, he's tackling me really hard. Oh no, I don't believe it. It's the boy who tried to steal my ball in the camp. I tackle him hard in return, get the ball back from him and flip it up into my hands. Hey, he said, that's my ball. No, it's not, I say, gripping the ball tight. Is this your family? Says the boy, pointing to Bibby. Yes, she says, eyes flashing. Then that's my ball, says the boy. Agreed payment. I'm outraged. You didn't take me to my family, I yell at him. You went running off after the United Nations. Bibby pulls off her headcloth and takes a step towards the boy. Even though I'm furious, I watch her anxiously. When Bibby takes off her headcloth, she usually ends up throwing punches. Listen, donkey snot, said Bibby yells at the boy. That's Jamal's ball. He's had it for 2 years. See that patch? I helped him stick that on. We cut it out of the back seat of our dad's taxi. I hope Dad can't hear us. The boy is staring at Bibby as if he has never seen a girl like her before. He probably hasn't. Then he lunges, not at Bibby, at me. He grabs the ball. I hang on to it. We both pull. He's not stronger than me, but he's not weaker. He can't get the ball from me, but I can't get it from him. The boy looks over his shoulder at Bibby. You can have the ball, he says, if you'll be my girlfriend. Bibby gives him a look that would scorch the paint off a tank. She hitches up her skirt, runs at the kid, and kicks him in the leg. Oh! He screams and staggers backwards, dragging the ball and me towards him. I fall on top of him. The ball bounces near us. The boy grabs at it. No, you don't, yells Bibby and gives the ball a huge kick. It soars over the heads of all the people and over the compound fence. The people all gasp. The ball bounces off the side of one of the boats and disappears between the boat and the dock. Oh, no! The ball! This is like the moment in, I'm nearly giving away a moment in a film, which is called Castaway. It's a bit of I don't actually like the movie at all. I won't give it away, but oh my God, Wilson! That's all I'm going to say about that. This is a really nice chapter. Lots going on here. Did you expect to have the kid from the camp turn up again? I didn't. Why would he be involved in all of this? He kind of felt a bit, I don't know, unloved and homeless or something. But anyway, here he is, wreaking havoc. Should we leave it there? No, we won't. Let's see what happens next. Chapter 21. Suddenly, everyone around us is moving. For a second, I think they're all rushing to get the ball. Then I see that the smugglers have opened the gate to the boats. It's time to get on board. That must be why everyone gasped. I force all thoughts of the ball out of my mind. Already, people are streaming through the gate and onto the boats. I grab Bibby and push between the people who are still getting their belongings together. Mum! I yell. Dad! Finally, I spot them, trying to wait for us, but they're being carried through the gate by the crush of people. Mum sees us. She points us out to Dad. They hold up our rucksacks and wave frantically at us to come to them. That's what I try to do. By the time Bibby and I get through the gate, Mum and Dad aren't that far away. They're struggling against the crowd, which is pushing them slowly towards the furthest boat. Then Bibby pulls her hand out of mine. "I'm going to get the ball," she says. Before I can stop her, she's squirming through the crowd towards the other boat. "Bibby!" I scream. "No!" I fling myself through the clamouring bodies towards her. By the time I finally reach her, she's lying on her stomach at the edge of the dock, jabbing down into the water with a long stick. She's trying to reach the ball, which is bobbing on the water between the boat and the dockside. "Leave it!" I yell, grabbing her arm and pulling her up. "We'll lose Mum and Dad!" She glares at me tearfully. "If we lose the ball," she says, "we won't get to do the plan. We won't get to be soccer stars and form a new government and go home." I stare at her, torn. Part of me knows she's right, but the other part is desperate to get moving. "I can make a new ball out of cardboard," I say, dragging her away from the edge of the dock. "I've done it before." Even as I say it, I know it's not the same. Then somebody snatches the stick out of Bibby's hand. It's the boy. "I'll get it," he says. "We'll go halves." Before I can move, the boy slips over the side of the dock and disappears. I drag Bibby to the edge and stare down, horrified. The boy is crouched inside one of the big tyres that are hanging off the concrete wall. He's reaching down for the ball with the stick. Is he mad? If the boat bumps into the dockside, he'll be crushed. "Watch out!" I yell. "I'm okay," he replies. "I've done a lot of fishing." Then he slips. He tries to get his balance, but he can't. He gives a howl and tumbles into the water. "Help!" I scream at the people milling around me. "There's a kid in the water!" Nobody's listening. They're all too busy getting onto the boats. Bibby thumps a couple of people trying to get their attention, but they ignore her. I look around wildly for a smuggler or a sailor or even a policeman. Nothing, just desperate people. There, on the deck, the man in yellow overalls. He looks like a sailor. He's got a long pole with a hook on the end, perfect for rescuing people. I grab Bibby and we claw our way through the crush of people and stumble onto the boat. "Quick!" I yell to the sailor, grabbing his overalls and trying to drag him towards the side. "There's a kid in the water!" The sailor doesn't seem to understand. I shake him. I yell louder. I grab the pole. The sailor scowls at me and snatches it back. Then he slaps me in the face. I stagger, stars in the front of my eyes. Through them I see Bibby kick the sailor. He knocks her down. She grabs his leg and bites it. He picks her up and flings her over his shoulder. "Bibby!" I croak. I try to get to her, but I'm too giddy and I'm still staggering towards them as the sailor throws Bibby over the side of the boat. That's the end of chapter 1. Chapter 21. Sorry. How long have I been going for? 17 minutes. Do I have time to read it? Yes! Okay, I'm going to read the next chapter. It's chapter 22. I'm breaking the rhythm here, but this is a really exciting bit and I don't want to just leave it just here. Okay, here we go. "No!" I scream. I stare down at the churning water. Bibby has vanished already. I drag myself up onto the railing and jump. The water wallops the breath out of me. Then I'm under, eyes stinging, desperately trying to see her. Bubbles float around me in the greeny gold shafts from the sun and the greeny grey shadows from the boat and the greeny pink stars from the smack in the head. I try to kick my legs and move my arms, but the water feels heavier than sand, and I'm sinking. "Look for Bibby," I shout silently to myself. Shapes everywhere, but not Bibby, just shadows. Sinking, sinking. A face close to mine. It's her. Eyes wide, cheeks bulging. I wrap my arms round her and try to kick. Get us both back up. No good. I can't kick hard enough. "Kick, Bibby. Do your big kick." I can't hold her. My arms won't grip. She's gripping me. My chest hurts. I have to breathe in. "Bibby, hang on. I can see Australia." Ow! Something's hurting my back. Something's pulling us up to the surface. "No, don't. The sunlight's too bright. The air's too cold. The rough metal I'm sliding over is hurting my knees." I can't breathe, but I can't see Australia anymore. I'm lying on the deck of the boat. I'm shaking all over. My lips are numb and salty. My knees hurt. "Where's Bibby?" I blink the water out of my eyes and look around frantically. There she is, on the deck next to me, coughing, gasping, swearing at the sailor in the yellow overalls as he unhooks his hook from her clothes. He grins at me. I sick up seawater over his boots. He grins even more. I grab Bibby and hold her so nobody will ever be able to take her away again. Then I close my eyes. I keep them closed for a long time. I want to go back to Australia. I saw it. Green soccer pitches and goal posts of solid gold and little stools for one-legged goalies to sit on. Me and Bibby winning the cup final for Dubbo Abattoirs United. I was there. Now I'm here on this deck shivering. I hug Bibby to warm her up. Somebody puts a coat over us. After a lot more shivering, I remember Mum and Dad. I jump up, get dizzy, grab somebody to stop myself falling over, stare around wildly. Mum, I yell, Dad! People are sitting huddled all over the deck. I look at their faces. They look at me. Some sympathetic, some scared. Some of the kids are crying. None of them are Mum or Dad. Bibby is on her feet too, shaking my arm. Look, she yells, pointing to the other end of the dock. It's the other boat, the one that was tied up next to this one. It's pulling away from the shore, heading out to sea. People are sitting all over its deck as well, except for two figures, standing at the back, searching frantically among the people around them. Mum! I scream. Dad! Bibby just screams. Mum and Dad turn and stare. Mum sees us and puts her hand to her mouth. Dad sees us and starts to climb over the railing at the back of their boat. Mum pulls him back. Water froths and churns below him as their boat picks up speed. The gap between the two boats is wider than a soccer pitch. 2 soccer pitches. I stare at them helplessly. They stare at us helplessly. Sick panic churns and froths inside me. Come back, I yell at the other boat. Please. And that is the end of chapter 22, and that's where we're going to leave it for today. Oh, it's really, really exciting. So they've been separated. This would be my absolute worst nightmare. Whenever I'm at in a crowd. So, for example, at Christmas time, no, at New Year's Eve, I live in Invi, and we walked over to the footy oval for the fireworks. And I'm there with my kids and with my sister and her kids, and there's 5 little kids and a couple of adults, and there were heaps and heaps of people inside the gate, so like inside the fence at the footy oval, and then everyone's going home, and we nearly got separated from each other, and the feeling of being separated, and like this is in my hometown. This is in my own town where we're all walking back to the same place and it's going to be fine, but the thought of being separated from my kids was awful, and that they might get lost or they might get scooped up or whatever. Not kidnapped or anything, but it was just a horrible feeling in that moment. Think about, you've smuggled your children, you've sold everything, you've sold your candlestick, you are leaving and you're fleeing a place where you're going to get killed, you can't live there anymore. You've been holed up in some other country that you flew to for a couple of weeks, barely eating, not knowing what's going on. You've been ferried off to this dock where you've been watching this boat for a couple of days. The time comes and your silly kids run off to chase a ball, and now you're separated. And now these 2 boats are about to travel from probably Indonesia across the ocean to Australia, and they're not together. It is a worst case scenario. It couldn't get any worse than that. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Oh, I don't even know. Thank you for watching. I'll leave it there. Tomorrow we'll carry on with chapters 23, 24, 25. So I've mucked up the timing. I'll have to change it. But in terms of taking notes, make sure you take your notes and you're writing down things. Did you like something about Jamal or Bibi in that moment? Were you annoyed about something? Think about the essay question that you're writing as we're reading. Make sure you're writing down your notes. And I'll see you again next time. Adios, amigos. Bye.